Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio with your host, Billy Willard, and the Blog Squatcher. Strap in, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, July 27th, 2009. I am your host, Billy Willard, and let me introduce my co-host, the great, the unmatchable, Mr. D.B. Donlin.
What do you mean you wanted to set a match to me? But it didn't work. I fooled you this time. Thank you very much. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine.
Good.
How about yourself?
I'm doing just fine.
The only
the typical question for tonight is our news.
Yeah, the news. Well, you see, what had happened was I'm still trying to get into the chat room, so my computer is sitting here with the spinning things that it's not letting me do anything. There have been some news items, and I think you know one of them pretty well, and that's that in western Pennsylvania, somewhere near Uniontown, a lady saw a Bigfoot-looking creature cross the road behind her car, and it's really close to town. You know, I mean,
right.
That would be a very remarkable sighting. I mean, you and I know that we investigated a sighting, you know, just on the outskirts of Richmond, but that was still a pretty rural area. It was a place that was right next to a national park or state park, and then there was an old farm that had fallen into, you know, disuse. So there's a lot of area there where nobody went, and that could be taken up by, you know, something like this. But in the case of that creature, it's like running across the road into a parking lot and then into the woods. And I mean, I'm not sure I have that right, but that's what some people have said. That would be pretty remarkable.
basically, there's talks of a Rite Aid, so maybe it needed some drugs.
Right. Got to get a Pepsi.
That's right. Daggone it.
So there was.
But no, you know, stranger things have happened, DB. As you know, we've had sighting reports in Bull Run Regional Park, and you know where that's at. I mean, that's right here on the outskirts of Manassas and Centerville. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I guess stranger things have happened. So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, they've done their investigation. I know that Eric is involved at the PBS. I think Stan Gordon got involved. You know, some others there. Dave Dragonson was there. So I have confidence those guys will check it out the best they can. So, all right, anything else, DB?
Well, yeah, it seems like there was one other sighting, but I'm forgetting the details. I bet you that you know, when Henry calls, he will remember what I should have said because he knows all.
Okay. All right. Well, then what we'll do then is we'll get straight to our guest, and just so everyone knows, this will be the guest tonight's first radio show appearance, so I'm not trying to put him on the spot or nothing, so I hope he's not sweating now. But I'm going to introduce Lonny of Louisiana, the co-founder of the Texla Cryptozoological Research Group. And Lonny, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you agreeing to come on. So, Lonny, for all the folks out there that are tuning in tonight, how about you just give them a basic rundown of who you are and what got you started in this very strange, as some put it, phenomenon.
Okay. I'm a operations supervisor and conversion specialist here in Baton Rouge for a local arena.
Okay.
And, I'm sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I've been interested in the Bigfoot thing for probably about 25, 30 years since I was a little kid. One of my brothers had rented the infamous Legend of Boggy Creek, and when I was 7 years old, that just really terrified me. And then when I got into middle school, I kind of got interested in it again, started reading some stuff on it, then got out of it. And then in high school, same thing, did a little research, kind of got into it, and then got out of it. And then right around 2000, I was sitting at my apartment, and I was watching a show on Bigfoot, and I had just gotten my first computer, and I started thinking some of the places that I camp here in South Central Louisiana. I was like, let me do a little research, see if there's been any activity in any of the places I camp in. Lo and behold, right in some of the very places that I camp in that area, there have been activity, and that was it. I've been hooked ever since.
All right. There you go. I tell you, sometimes it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
So now, how long have you been into this now?
Roughly about 9, 10 years. Actively building. Yeah.
Very good. Now, do you particularly stick to the state of Louisiana, or do you go in other places?
Sometimes we go to Texas. We got some places in East Texas that we go and do some research there.
Right.
I'm actually going to the Talladega Mountains in October by myself, and I'm going to do some check out some areas up there in the Talladega Wilderness that had 1 and 2 sightings. I spent the millennium up there on top of Mount Cheaha, and it's had some action around there, and I've been dying to go back, and this would be a perfect time to go.
All right, cool. Well, we'd love to hear an update on that when you come back, if you don't mind. That would be great.
That'd be great, yeah.
Now, do you typically go out and do research on your own? Do you like to go out by yourself, or do you typically have 1 or 2 or a group of people with you?
Normally, I'm kind of the crazy one of the group. I go and camp in remote places by myself all the time. The group tries to get out 4, 5, 6 times a year, but I go camping all the time at my little research area, and that's where I've gotten a lot of some pretty good recordings there, and the group as well. But for the most part, I'm not doing of it because I'm usually by myself, and it's kind of spur of the moment. It's like, oh, I got tomorrow off. I'm going to go ahead and hit the field. And so most of it by myself, but I prefer to be with a group setting, just in case something really crazy does happen. I'm all by myself. So, but that's what I do.
Yeah, it sounds like you're similar to me. A lot of times when we have busy schedules and we just don't know when we're going to get out, so a lot of times it's a spur of the moment thing, and that's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but I've had rather good luck going out on the spur of the moment and just going out by myself. Of course, like you say, it's not a good idea. I've heard a lot of matter of fact, we just heard a story a couple of weeks ago about a couple researchers that went out, and one of the fellows had fell down the steps kind of off of a bank, and if he wouldn't have someone else with him, he might have been in a lot of trouble. So yeah, it's good to have the buddy system with you.
Yeah, and let me say, I'm envious of you guys because I'd love to go up there and do some squatch in the Virginias. I actually grew up in the Virginias.
Oh, really? Where at?
Yeah, I actually we lived in Richmond, Virginia, and then Princeton, West Virginia, and Lewisburg, West Virginia. And I was
okay.
And I'd love to get back there. I remember those Appalachians were beautiful up there.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of people look at Richmond, Virginia, as a place that, it's the capital of Virginia, so everybody obviously automatically thinks of it as this big booming town or city. But I tell you, the outskirts, as DB was alluding to earlier, the outskirts of Richmond it's still very rural with a lot of farmland. They grow a lot of soybean and corn on the outskirts. And when I say the outskirts, we're talking about, within 15, 20 miles of Richmond. And I tell you what, Chesterfield County, which is right there in Richmond and on the outskirts of Richmond, right now has had a lot of sightings coming in from that area. So, it's, you just wouldn't think it could be, but we're getting a lot of sightings in from there.
Yeah, I was actually doing a little research last night. I was on Google Earth trying to find the two places that I live in West Virginia. And in Princeton, right there in Mercer County. And I think BFRO has a sighting from 3 years ago, probably within 10 miles of where I lived.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, West Virginia is a big gold mine as far as I'm concerned. There are so many areas in West Virginia that is just, for example, my wife's grandfather, who lived on the top of this mountain practically all of his life, had no running water, no power, out in the middle of nowhere. His driveway was a logging road, literally, and I mean he had no one around him at all. We went up there one time for a family reunion, and this place was just pristine, just beautiful area with just valleys and lots of water, caverns. I mean, just beautiful area, and you can't tell me that place doesn't have something roaming around in there that nobody has a clue about. Well, or may have a clue about. So yeah, I tell you, that's a nice, the whole state of West Virginia, as far as I'm concerned, is a gold mine. Well, Lonnie, let me. What I'm gonna do? We've got a couple callers on the line.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're calling in to just listen in, because sometimes they have a hard time getting into the show. So we'll just check with them, see if they have questions or if they're just listening in. Actually, the one just hung up. I think the other one, I'm just going to double check. 571, I think that's Jason. Am I correct?
That's correct.
All right, you're just listening, or do you have a question for Lonnie?
I'm just listening. I'm at work, Billy.
All right, I'll put you right back on the mute button.
All right.
All right, that's Jason. He's a member of Sasquatch Watch of Virginia. He's listening while he's at work. See if we can get him in trouble, tell his managers. Let's see. Okay, yeah, the other caller dropped off. Now, DB, do you have any questions out of the chat, or did you ever get in the chat?
I have gotten into chat, and I saw a couple of questions.
Okay.
The first one is from Bipedalist, and he wanted to know how close Lonnie thought he had ever been to a Bigfoot.
Oh, wow. I don't really know. I had what I would call an experience in my research area a few years ago that was pretty scary. I never saw anything, didn't smell anything. I was camping in a spot that people don't normally camp, but I kind of do that. I go and camp in these really crazy places. And this area had some previous sightings in the last 10 or 15 years. I had spoken to a man who had actually seen one hunting. And I was camping in this area, and had my tent set up, had everything set up. Everything was fine, no problems. And right as the sun started going down, I started feeling a little uneasy, and I thought it was just because I was in a new area, And about an hour after dark, it kind of got a little worse, and then just absolutely like a light switch. I mean, just that fast, I was just mortified. I was just terrified, and I didn't know why. And like I said, I didn't see anything, I didn't smell anything, and it got stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. I had my rifle with me and my pistol, but I mean, I just soon had a water pistol with me. I mean, I felt that helpless. And I grabbed my tent, completely everything in it, stakes in the ground, threw the whole thing in my truck and got out of there. And it took me a little while to shake that. I went back about a month later to the exact same spot at midnight by myself and call blasted and didn't have an ounce of fear. So that would probably be the closest that I could say that if there was one in the area, that would have been it.
Okay. You got more in there?
Well, I do, but he just he talked about something that's dear to my heart, the infrasound thing, and which I mean, we don't know that's what it was.
Right.
But that's one of the theories that we kind of put these ideas into. And I just wanted to say I had something like that happen to me also. I was this was in West Virginia, and it was out in the middle of nowhere basically, and there were 4 or 5 of us there. And everybody else had gone to sleep, and I was awake, and I started feeling like what you said. You start feeling this, like, anxiety or dread coming on you. And then all of a sudden it goes, wham! It's like, it gets ratcheted way up. And for myself, I thought, am I just having a panic attack? Because why would I be having a panic attack right now in the middle of the night for no reason? I never heard or smelled anything, but it was weird, I mean, it's enough to freak you out.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. I mean, it got worse and worse, and it got to the point where it didn't make any sense to me because I didn't understand what was going on. I'm one of these people that when I get scared, I tend to get really mad, and I was getting really mad, and I was scared at the same time. And when I threw everything in my truck and went back down south to another camping spot, I mean, it took me like another 30 minutes just to shake that feeling, and it was just like a light switch, just like you said. I mean, I've talked to 2 other researchers, actually. The same thing has happened to them. I mean, just like 1 minute they're fine, and then boom, it's just get me out of here.
Yeah, and that's something that's been associated with Bigfoot before, but what's interesting is that you hear a lot more of those stories where they don't necessarily see or hear a Bigfoot than you do where that happens and then you actually have a Bigfoot present. Although there are a few stories, and they're very compelling stories, where that happens and there is a Bigfoot present. So I think there's reason to think that might be Bigfoot related. Now, on to another question. JC was interested in knowing if you ever have had Bigfoot show up in your dreams.
Oh, gosh.
No.
No.
No, Bigfoot has never been in my dreams.
Yeah. Now, that does happen sometimes to people after they've had an experience like we were just talking about. It didn't happen to me, and didn't happen to you, obviously, but there have been other people who have had that, the classic infrasound or pheromone thing happen, and then they'll actually start dreaming about Bigfoot. And I think that's important. I mean, I don't think it means that Bigfoot is invading your brain. What I think that means is that you're showing how you really were affected by what happened. It's not something that you made up in your own mind, because I don't know if anybody is able to scare themselves so bad that they can give themselves dreams. I mean, you can watch the scariest movie and you might not get a dream out of it. Depends on, how sensitive you are. But these things can happen to people, and it can mess with them for a while. So it's definitely not ordinary. It's non-ordinary, whatever that is that's happening. I got one more question from Slam360. He wants to know if you ever go to Monster Central.
I've never been to Monster Central. I talked to Jim Lansdale a few years ago, and he actually told me, he's like, if you came up here, I could almost guarantee you a sighting. And I never took him up on that offer. I don't remember why, but I hear that place is pretty hopping. He told me himself that they don't even yell at him anymore. They know him. They know his truck. They know his scent. He said they'll yell at other people, but they don't yell at him anymore. So sounds like that's a pretty happening spot up there in northwestern Louisiana. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I need to correct something. I said Slam 360, but it's Slam 630. So let's get his name right. Slam 630.
Get it right, darn it.
Yeah, I blew it.
I'm gonna have to smack him.
Good thing there's a city between the two of us.
Okay, is that all your questions from the chat so far?
Yeah, that's all I've seen.
All right, then I'm going to bring on this caller. Where'd it go? There it went. There it goes. Hold on. Area code 352, you're on the air.
Good evening. My name is Ted. And
hey,
I'm
Ted.
originally... Hey, how you doing, guys? Listen,
Good.
last year in Catskill, New York, I had 3 experiences with... Hold on a second. Hey, dogs, come on. Stop it. Anyway, sorry,
they might see one out there.
No, sorry. I'm in Florida right now, but I'm originally
from
New York. Originally from New York. I'm a fly fishing and hiking guide for the state of New York. I was at.
Oh, cool.
And I had 3 sightings in 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
And, yeah, the closest one was 30 yards away from me.
Okay.
And the second one was, I shouldn't say it wasn't confirmed. It was a black moving through the brush, but let me tell you, when I went back there was the stick formations, and so I was scared when I went back there that one trip. It was only maybe about 300 yards from the house I was renting for the month. I had gone up because my son had gotten married, and I got hooked up with Steve Coles up there. And Stevie was with me the first night we saw one. Steve saw it, I saw it, and a couple other people saw it also. That was the first. But the one time I just took I just went out in the woods just to see what I could come up with. I came upon the stick formation, and it was right at the top of a knoll, and right at the bottom of the knoll was a small swamp. So and the whole time I was there, I had this feeling like I was being watched.
Right.
So I went back to the house. I got my 38 and I got my camera. And the whole time there, even when I was taking the pictures, it was like I was looking over my shoulder the whole time. Now, when I had the encounter, and I told this to Abe, and I sent him pictures of the area. The house I was in, there was a road on one side, maybe 50 yards onto the right, as I'm looking at the back of the house, and maybe about a quarter of a mile away was the New York State Thruway. So it was a narrow area, but it was like a walkway for these creatures. So I'm saying, how in the heck can these creatures be so, invisible? So there was a small path, and when I go down towards the road, there's a small stick formation, and inside the stick formation there were different sticks, but they were like the main stick or the top one was pointing in a certain direction. So I was walking up the path, and I took pictures of what I think were footprints. And in New York, you can't get a solid footprint because of the leaves and everything like that.
Right.
So, and I came upon a rock shelf. And if you just duck down a little bit, you're invisible. If you just pop your head up, you're even with the backyard with the house that I was staying in. I said, well, look at this. And I took 2 more steps, and this thing jumped up in front of me.
Oh, my God. How far was he from you?
Yeah, 30 yards, no more than that.
Oh, man.
All right. Now, this is my second encounter. Like the first one, Steve, we even made videos that night of the experience. But this is my second encounter, and I'm by myself.
Right.
And this thing jumped up. It yelled, something like that.
Right.
And it went from, as I'm facing it, my right to left. And it went like in 2 strides. It was out. It was out of sight. It was gone. It was in the woods. You couldn't see it anymore, but quiet. I mean, it made no noise. It just like floated. It ran, but it floated. It didn't make any noise. And as it ran, I did know it was about 6.5, 7 foot tall, and it was totally black. And it sort of lifted its left arm to shield its face and ran that way. I did catch that. Now, I had my camera in my hands, but I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't have the wits about me at that point to even try to even raise the camera, because my heart
I can't tell you how many people I've heard say exactly what you just said. I think when you have a surprise or when you see something like that, it kind of makes you forget.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
then, and I'm saying, how could this thing must have known I was coming up on it. It wasn't looking at me. See, what was happening is a guy over the hill was building a chicken coop. And he was pounding, the boards, the nails into the chicken coop. And this thing was, later on when I went to where this thing popped out of, if you look down, you could see the guy building his chicken coop.
Huh.
So it was watching this guy actually build a chicken coop. His curiosity got the best of him.
Right.
And I was like I said. I called Steve right away. Steve said, "Calm down, calm down." Steve will tell you the whole story if you ever talk to Stevie. And my heart was thumping, and I'm saying to myself, "Man, I'm by myself over here now." Now,
right.
About a week later, I went out in the woods. I calmed down after a while, a couple of days, but I used to sit outside till about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I used to hear yupping. They used to yup, whoop, whoop, something like that.
Right.
And across the road and up on the other hill, you would hear an answer. But it would be like a different sequence. You knew it wasn't an echo.
Right.
And then they would bang on the tree, with a stick, and you hear an answer across the road up on the hill.
Right.
So there's more than one in that area, and
right.
It's I'm going back up in September. I told Stevie I'm going to check it out again. So
right.
Well,
I appreciate you calling in, Ted, and telling us about that. Now that was in the Catskills up there.
That's in the Catskills, and you want to know something? If you go to Walmart is 3 miles down the road.
I think I know where you're talking about. Because we went up there and we've been up there and done 2 expeditions. I think I know about the area that you're probably talking about up there.
Right outside of Catskill, New York?
Yep.
Okay. Because I was a guide. I was a hiking guide and a fishing guide in that whole area. That was my territory. All right?
Cool.
So I knew the area well. And there's a big cooperative farm up the road about 3 miles.
Right.
You know where I'm talking about then.
I got a general idea where you're talking about.
Okay.
Ain't there some areas up there, there's a lot of snowmobile trails and things?
Yes. Yes.
I'm pretty sure I know about where you're talking about, because I've been to a couple areas up there, but
there's also
I think I have a general idea.
There's a state park up on top of the mountain there with 2 lakes on it. I think you know what I'm talking about there.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
All right, there's been sightings up there, and the place is, people think, right outside New York City, and you're only 168 miles north of New York City from where you get off the thruway. And let me tell you something. It is not virgin territory, but it's territory that is rugged. It's rugged. It's all shale cliffs.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect. There's all along the Hudson River there are caves. There's perfect habitat for them. It's a perfect migratory route for them. There's a couple stories there that I wasn't able to confirm. I tried to get a hold of the guy, and he had relayed it, so I was the second party to hear it, where his father had shot a deer, and then we went back to the house to get his son, who relayed the message to a friend who relayed it to me. So we take it from there.
Right.
And what happened was when they went back, what his father did was stick it in between the rocks, to just, I guess, to protect it from any predators or whatever. But with the smell of blood, you're going to get every predator in the world. But when they got back to the deer, both hindquarters were missing. They were ripped off.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you calling in, Ted. Thanks a lot for letting everybody know about that. Very interesting. Yeah,
my pleasure. Now, I sent Abe pictures of the area when I went back out in the woods with the 38 and the camera. So, and we'll take it from there. If I go back, I'll be going back up in September. If I find anything, I'll let you guys know.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ted.
My pleasure. Take care.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was interesting. I do know for a fact that New York is a pretty rugged place up there. You get up in those Adirondacks up in that direction, man. Whew. I know. I drove my poor truck over some of those rock cliffs. So, all right. How many questions do we got lingering in the chat, DB?
Let's see. There might have been one more. No, there isn't. Not
Okay.
that I have seen.
All right, we can get back to Lonnie. Lonnie, you didn't go sleep on us, did you?
Oh no, I'm sitting here reading the chat room. It's pretty funny.
Okay. Lonnie, here's my question. I like to see what everybody's theories are because in this field there seems to be a lot of theories on a lot of different things. What is your theory when it comes to all these things that people call stick structures or tree formations? Do you think these creatures are constructing these things? Do you think that most of these things being pictured are just natural weather occurrences, or what do you think about it?
I don't really know. I found on my MySpace page I have some pictures. I found a structure 4 or 5 years ago in my research area, and these little trees, most of them were actually dead, probably about 5 inches in diameter. There was probably about 10 or 15 of them all coming up to a point, and some of them were even woven together from different angles. And the funny thing was that all the other trees in the area from a previous storm were all laid flat on the ground. And so I took a bunch of pictures of it, and even there was a lot of impressions around it too. And I thought that was pretty compelling there. But I don't really know. I mean, if somebody comes up on one of these little stick structures that looks kind of out of the ordinary, I mean, I don't really know. You know what I mean? If it's close to a rural place where maybe kids could do it, I mean, I don't really know. But I've heard of people finding perfectly stacked stones and little piles of feathers. There's things like that kind of really get my attention. But it could be Sasquatch activity. I mean, I really don't know because I don't think any reports that I know of that anybody's actually seen one of these things do that. So who knows?
Right. Yeah, the only report I've ever heard wasn't actually any type of stick structure or formation, but there was a report that I read somewhere about a guy who claims that he watched a creature, and this would be in regards to woodknock. He watched a creature try to knock a raccoon out of the tree by knocking on the tree. Now, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I know. Matter of fact, speaking of wood knocks, I think you've sent us a couple audio clips. I think one of them was a wood knock, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I call the killer wood knock. Yeah, that was
right. And everybody likes to hear audio, so why don't we go ahead and we'll start off with that. DB, do you have any questions before I play this first audio?
The only question I caught was from my handwriting is terrible. I think it's Kings Martin, but I might have that name wrong. He wanted to know if Lonnie knew of any West Texas sightings.
No, I really don't. The highest amount of sightings seem to be in the eastern part of Texas, where the rainfall is more significant. I really don't know that many sightings in West Texas. I've never even been to West Texas.
Mm-hmm. All right. Texas is a pretty good-sized state. It's a long way to get over on that west side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Long, straight roads. Well, we had a call to pick them up, but they have since hung back up. So, caller, if you want to call back in, let me give out the call-in number just for those who may not be in the chat and stuff. The call-in number, if you've got a question for Lonnie tonight, is 347-237-5070. Again, it's 347-237-5070. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play this first audio clip. The audio clip that we're playing is what Lonnie calls the killer wood knock. So I'll go ahead and play that right now. Here we go. Y'all think I should turn the sound up on that? Could you, DB, did it come across?
I did hear it. I heard that.
You did hear it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as long as nobody, if somebody says play it again, we will. So explain this situation, Lonnie. What were you doing? General idea of what you were doing, where you were at, that kind of thing.
Okay. That one, I was in my research area, and funny thing about that story is that I record, the way I record is I have my solid-state recorder in my tent with me, and I run the XLR out about 100 feet beyond my tent, and I set up a microphone. I got a pretty expensive microphone. It's a Rode NT4. It's a very high output stereo condenser microphone. And so
wow.
I had made that recording that night, and I hadn't even gotten to that part yet. And it wasn't until 6 or 7 months later I let Bruce from the group, he had that complex flash card with that recording on it, and he asked me, he's like, man, did you hear that knock? I'm like, what knock? Well, it turns out that I was sound asleep when that happened.
Oh.
I never. And so maybe to go back to your previous question of how close have I been to a Sasquatch, that could have been it.
Right.
When I first initially listened to it, I thought maybe, it sounded to me at first like a gunshot, but there were no cars. You can hear the traffic going up and down the road by the levee where I was.
Uh-huh. Right.
And there was no traffic at all. And if I remember correctly, it was one of those days that I had off during the week, so there was nobody at all anywhere in that area. And that whole little recording, if I would have sent you a little bit more of it, if you listen to it with headphones, you can actually hear me lightly snoring in the background. I never heard that.
You were doing one of my tricks.
Yeah.
Snoring in the
Billy has been mocked by a Sasquatch apparently while he snored.
Uh-oh.
That's the story that we've heard. But I need to correct something. I called somebody the wrong name again. It's Kings Marine. Wanted to know about Texas.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm doing great tonight. I also have a couple more questions if you're ready for them.
Go ahead. I you know what? Can I grab this caller that called back after
Sure.
I told him to call back?
Sure.
Let me just grab him real quick. Caller from the 318 area code. You're on the air.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Who is this?
My name is Seth. I had a quick question for Lonnie. What could he possibly do if he was ever beset on something that he came across out in the woods like that? Is there any type of, is there any type of something that a Sasquatch would avoid? Is there anything that he could do? I mean, I know that they're naturally skittish creatures, but is there anything that he could do to keep one from taking him home and making him his wife?
Billy, this is my best friend Seth calling.
Okay.
Yeah. He told me he wasn't going to call.
Well, I just accidentally shut him off because I thought it was a prank call.
Oh, no. At least he said wife. Didn't go to the obvious one there.
I apologize, Seth. I thought for sure you were one of those prank callers. I shut you off. If you want to call back, go ahead.
Yeah.
Lonnie, you told me a little bit too late it was your buddy. Oh goodness. I was getting ready to give him one of these too.
Got the sound effects working.
I'll tell you what, Billy. I will answer his question.
Okay.
If I wanted to do something where they wouldn't come in and harm me, all I would have to do is put digital, game cameras all around my tent.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Get yourself a flashlight, turn it on, everything's cool.
I apologize, Seth. You're more than welcome to call back in. Lonnie's just a little bit late and tell me it was a buddy. I feel bad now. Oh gosh! If you would have been at the show last week, Lonnie, you would understand why I was so quick on that disconnect button because I didn't know where it was going next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of naughty words last week.
Yes, we did.
Oh, man.
So.
It's quite an education. I'd never heard such language.
All right, DB. I guess you said you had some questions.
Yes, I have a couple. Bill Green wants to know if Lonnie has ever been in the Boggy Creek area.
Oh, in South, right? South Arkansas. Then, no, can't say I have.
No, not Boggy Creek. And Hucklebuck wants to know, where in Louisiana do you do your research?
Ooh, that's a secret question.
Can you give like I mean, we know you live in Baton Rouge, so it's got to be someplace near there. So we're talking about East Central Louisiana?
Yeah, South Central Louisiana. I will say this, because this area is so vast. And there's been sightings in the south part of it and the north part of it, but I researched in the Atchafalaya Basin.
Cool. All right, there's Seth is calling back. I'll hang up on you this time, Seth. He told me who you were a little bit too late.
Yeah, I promise you I'm not going to say anything for your radio show to hurt it or anything.
Okay.
But I really had a legitimate question, you know. I mean, because sometimes I worry about him out there all by himself, because I know he goes out.
Yeah.
He's told me lots of stories. I've been out with him before several times, and he's shown me a lot of interesting things about it. And from somebody that hasn't known anything about it before, coming into it was really interesting, and it really makes it seem not so far-fetched. You know,
right.
How can so many people have the same sighting and the same type of thing, you know, happen to them? And, you know, I mean, all different parts of the country, all over, they all smell something, you know, that rotten egg smell or, you know, and it's just really been interesting because I like to go out in the woods, too, and I need to know what I'm going up against, you know, in case I come across it, you know.
Right.
But I just, you know, I don't know. I mean, what could you possibly do? I mean, I know they're skittish. I mean, what would you do to scare them away? And what do you do if they don't go away? You know.
There you go, Lonnie. There's your question.
I don't know if one of these things came out and started yelling and hollering. I honestly don't know what I would do. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to be in that situation. If I had any food, you know, I'd probably throw a sandwich at him and get in my truck and home.
You just gotta raise up your camera. He'll check right out.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, raise up your camera, turn your recorder on, he'll be gone. Oh yeah, maybe just say, "Hey, I'm with Sasquatch Watch of Virginia." He'll be like lightning out of there.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna get going. Thanks for having me, you know, call in and talk. I'm gonna be listening to the rest of the show. I got another question. Is it okay if I call back?
Yep, you sure could.
Okay.
Bye, Seth.
All right.
All right.
See
Thank
you later.
Bye bye.
All right, we got the callers lined up, Lonnie. They're wanting to talk to you, man.
Wow.
Let's see here. We got a caller from the 912 area code. You're on the air.
Hello, how are you today?
Good. Who are we talking to?
Talking to Delton Rob in the chat room.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Can I talk about a Sasquatch sighting I saw?
What's that?
Can I say a Sasquatch sighting I saw a couple of days ago?
Let's hear it.
Sure.
All right, I went with a camping trip. A buddy of mine a couple of days ago. We were out, actually out at the Application Mountains up there at northern Georgia.
Uh-huh.
And we were up there camping below that there, and I went outside to go get in the car and get some ice down the road. And when I was walking to the car, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning too. So you're pretty scared. You're pretty sure I'm going to be freaked out going out there, not knowing what's happening. And I looked over there, and I just saw this guy all dressed in black. I couldn't tell what it was. It looked like he had a black fur coat on. And I picked up the phone, and he looked right at me. And it was about 6 feet tall.
How far away was it?
Do what now?
How far away do you think it was?
About 20 feet from me. I couldn't make it out. It was so far, though. But it was about 20, 40 feet away.
That's still pretty close.
I picked up a phone call 911, and I said, we got someone crawling around out here all dressed in black. And as soon as I started saying that, the figure, it just started walking closer to me and closer. And then I turned around to get in my car, and I looked back, and it was gone.
Well, that's very interesting. I thank you for letting us know about it.
Oh, no problem. I'll call back again, and I'm going back on the air, though. You got some more information about that. All right,
all right,
Sam. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right. I think we all know who this is. Mr. Henry May down there in Mississippi. It's your neighbor.
This is the real Henry, by the way. I realize that Seth's voice sounds very similar to mine.
I know. I heard some giggling going on. I don't know if that was DB or whatever. We thought that Henry was doing some impersonation or something.
No, I'm not doing. No, it wasn't me.
It was not me.
No. But I wanted to ask the
guest. I have to tell you though, Irish guy says this is a prank call. We got to boot him.
Yep. Anyway, I wanted to ask the guest, Lonny, about his research. As far as I wanted to ask, if you've noticed any patterns as far as certain places that they tend to hang out, or certain places that they seem to favor more than others.
I could answer that question really only in the area that I researched, in the basin. I've noticed in the last few years, it seems that me and the group have kind of figured this out, that hunting season over there starts right around October. In a couple of months, that's when the bow season starts. So the hunters start getting in the woods. And, of course, they'll hunt in the management areas where the land is dry. There's some swampy areas. And I've noticed that there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of activity, wood knocks, any kind of vocalization, anything, from October until early spring. I mean, nothing at all. Once the hunters get in there, what I think they do is because the southern part of the Atchafalaya Basin, it's mostly just literally just swamps. I mean, it's so big, and that lower part, you have to really take a boat to get access to any of it. And I think probably during, my guess is that during hunting season, they go farther south to get out of the hunting areas. And then once hunting season is over, they come back up to the north, because we've had most of our activity in the early spring and late spring and early summer.
All right. I hear some laughing.
I'm laughing at some of the stuff going on in the chat room.
I know Lonnie's. I'm surprised Lonnie hasn't started laughing, because I know he's watched it too.
Well, anyway, that's pretty much the only question I wanted to ask. And thank you very much for answering my questions.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Great show, guys.
Thank you, Henry.
All right. Later.
All right, let me grab this one. We got one more caller hanging on the line. Let me see if I can get this switchboard to cooperate. Caller from the 480 area code. You're on the air.
Yeah, I was in the mountains the other day. Do you mind if I tell my story of what I went through? I was actually just online looking things up when I came over your show, and my name's actually Jeff Arizona.
Okay.
If that matters. Well, I was out in the mountains over here in South Mountain. It's in Phoenix, well, right outside Phoenix. And I never really heard of any stories, of any Sasquatch or any kind of anything out in this area. You really just run into rattlesnakes and things like that. But we were out doing our usual hunting, and next thing you know, down maybe, I don't know, maybe about 2 miles down around the corner around the edge, saw this big, I couldn't really tell what it was at first, you know, so I came up close to it. I got maybe, I don't know, about a half mile away. So I grabbed my buddy. We took some pictures. We actually got some new pictures, and I posted them online if you don't mind, or I don't know if you want to mute it out. I can give you my website. I actually have some new pictures online.
Okay. I got. Are you in the chat room?
Yeah, I am. Well, I can get in there. I'm actually outside right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to, just send it to my email. That way you won't have to post it anywhere if you don't want to.
Oh, I would like to post them. The more people I can tell, the better. Because honestly, I was a skeptic until now. You never really believe anything until you come up and close to it. And if it is what it is, I don't know. But it's something I've never seen before in my life. I don't know. It's at boardsix.com and pretty much spelled out BOARDSIX.com. You can see I made a section there. It's called Sasquatch New Pics. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. It's much more clear than any pics I've ever seen.
All right. Well, everybody heard that, so check it out, and we'll check those out.
All right, guys, and keep the show going. It's pretty awesome. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Take it easy.
You too. All right, DB. Any more questions in there roaming around?
No. But didn't I see there was one more phone call, or is that gone now?
That's Jason just calling back in to listen to the show. He probably had to go there for a little bit to take care of a grumpy customer or something.
Well, I saw 740 area code. I wrote it down, but it's gone. So whoever that was has left the building.
Yep, they must have. I don't see it. So, all right, no more questions in there?
No.
Okay, what we're going to do then is we will take this opportunity to take a little break. Lonnie, if you can hold on the line, we're just going to do a quick commercial break. Kind of give everybody, let them wet their whistle and let JC go take a pee. So we will be right back in just a few minutes, folks, and we'll see you when we return.
All right.
Sasquatch Watch Radio. Stay tuned. Paranormal Talk Radio, bi-monthly, Wednesday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Central. Paranormal Talk Radio divas Melissa Hovey and Monica Rollins, never afraid to tell it like it is. Too hot for prime time. 60 minutes of take no shit, grab you by the balls. Paranormal Talk Radio. 8 to 9 p.m. Central, every other Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio. Paranormal Talk Radio with an attitude.
All right, everybody, welcome back. And we have, I believe, Seth calling back in. He must have another one for you. Seth, are you on the line?
Yes, sir, I am.
Gotcha.
I was wondering if Lonny could tell us where anyone else on the internet that's looking for it could find more of his recordings or some of his organization's recordings of what it was that he recorded out there. I know that he's got several recordings, just trying to help him kind of draw attention to it, put a shout out to it, because I think it's really interesting that what y'all played earlier.
Yeah, we've got another one to play too, but Lonny, do you have those up anywhere?
Actually, I don't. I've got most of the stuff that I've recorded really pretty much compiled right on my desktop. I only have 2 recordings, I believe, that's on our website on Tesla Research. Most of it, some really good stuff that Bruce and Bob have gotten, and Scott for that matter. But I haven't posted most of my stuff out on the website. I just haven't done it yet.
All right.
Okay, well, all right. I'll keep listening.
All right, thank you, Seth.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, is there any other questions, DB, before I play the next audio?
I have not seen, let me see if I'm, okay, I have not seen a question, but I have been bouncing around a little bit, so they might have snuck one past me.
Okay. Well, we will go ahead, Lonny, I'm going to go ahead and play this next one you sent me.
Okay.
Now this one that Lonny sent me, he calls Louisiana Whoops. So I've got this one turned up because if I remember correctly, I think they're kind of faint in the background.
Yeah, turn it up.
So let me turn this up just a bit here, and here we go. All right, could everybody hear that? DB?
I did not hear, well, I heard something that sounded kind of like birds. Is that what we were looking for?
No, there's a whoop in the background. It kind of
I missed it.
goes up high. I can hear it a couple times.
There's actually 3 of them. If they go to Texas Research, that recording is in there, and it's called Louisiana Whoops. You can hear it with, if you listen to it with headphones, you can hear it really good.
Okay.
That recording I made in, I believe that was in February of this year. And the way my recorder is it'll record for about 7 hours, and then it starts to beep to let me know that the batteries are low. But my microphone stays on.
Right.
And I was actually sleeping in my tent right around 9:30 in the morning, and I started to stir, and I thought I heard one, and I sat up. And then I heard another one, and I remember the microphone was still on. When the recorder starts to beep, it still has about 10 minutes left. And so I hurry up, turned it on, and I got those last 3.
Okay, cool.
And that was right behind my, probably maybe within 200 yards or less of where I was sleeping, right there on the ground.
All right, I've got some folks asking me to play it again. I'm going to turn it up just another notch.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and play it one more time. Here we go. All right.
I heard him that time.
I turned it up, like I say, about another 50%. So, very interesting. Now, Lonny, have you run into that before, or was that the first time you had recorded that or heard it?
That's the first time I've ever gotten any recorded. About 3 years ago, at about 2:30 in the morning, actually, I was getting out of my tent to take me a little leak there, and I heard 3 whoops coming from the woods pretty much directly behind where my tent was. this spot was over about 150, maybe 200 yards to my left as I recorded these previous ones. I've heard wood knocks there several times. Some of the best wood knocks that I've heard was one time when my recorder was actually recording 4 miles down the road at another location. And I didn't get to get this. But I've heard whoops twice, and I was lucky enough to record these. And I've heard wood knocks 3 or 4 times there.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guess what? We've got somebody from Virginia calling in. Let's see who we got here. Virginia caller, you are the 804 area code. You're on the air.
Good evening. This is Leo in Richmond. Actually, Chesterfield.
Hey, Leo.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Dex to Chesterfield.
Uh-huh. I'd like to cycle back to the wood knot thing.
Go back to the wood knot?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been out in the woods much of my life, and you can't hardly find a stick that isn't rotten to pick up and whack a tree with,
Right.
So these things would have a devil of time finding anything sturdy enough to whack anything, I would think, easily.
Well, unless they're breaking out a fresh limb, out of a tree.
I had not thought of it. But I was thinking, I wonder if it isn't verbal or oral. I mean,
some people have
there's
said that.
Yep, they have.
Because I've heard, I've had turkeys sound off close to me. It'll vibrate your chest. Even a bird can make a lot of noise.
A peacock can make a lot of noise.
Yes, sir. So
Have you ever heard of peacock?
Yeah. Well, I had a barred owl sound off on me a week ago or two. I didn't see it, and it scared me half to death. It's so loud.
Right.
My point being, these things may be, with their chest cavity and lung capacity, may be able to verbally or orally make these sounds. And I don't know if that's true, but has anybody thought of that before?
Yeah, DB was just mentioning there have been some talk about that. Some people think that it sounds like a tongue-in-cheek noise. But yeah, there have been some folks that have mentioned that, saying that they thought it sounded similar to that. So yeah, and it could be possible. I mean, we just don't know, but I don't see where it
walking around with a hickory stick in their hand at all times.
Yeah, right.
So I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, then I guess they're not. Then we have to say they're using tools or something, but. No, it's definitely an interesting point, and it's worth discussion. So.
Well, that's all I had. Get on with your show. Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. You're in a good area down there.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks a lot. All right, Lonnie. Yeah, Chesterfield is a pretty hot area right now in Virginia. We've gotten a couple sightings out of there this year already. So.
Oh wow. Yeah, I've been doing a little research, reading different experiences people have had. I research in Arkansas too. I go to a place, Caddo Gap, Arkansas. I go there, spend usually 7 to 10 days by myself, of course, in the mountains. My aunt has a remote cabin up there, and I was there a couple of years ago and heard a really interesting vocalization from on top of the ridge. And I don't know if it was a Sasquatch. It didn't sound like it was human, but the temperature was about 25 degrees down there in the valley, and I would guess up there on the ridge it had to have been in the teens. And if anybody was up there doing that, that would have been pretty foolish. About a year ago, I was walking through the valley, and I was heading east, and I heard what sounded like two rocks just being banged together like 3 times, just bam, bam, bam. And I hurried up down in my position. I was looking around. I was like, good God, where did that come from? And it seemed to be coming from about 150, maybe 200 yards southeast of my location. And so I looked on the ground, and I found 2 rocks. The whole valley floor is nothing but rocks. 2 rocks about the size of grapefruit. And I banged them together, and it made almost the exact same kind of noise. And pretty interesting. I never saw anything. I didn't hear anything stirring up, but I would definitely like to hear more reports of rock clacks, is what they call them.
Yeah,
well,
Billy,
we heard some rock clacking, didn't we?
Yeah, because I remember when we were up there. I remember you. I think you were a little excited because you heard it.
Yeah, well, you know,
down in the
that can't be raccoons, right?
Exactly. No, not that size. I don't think they could pick up some big rocks like that and make noises like that. So, but yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty surprising, especially when you're sitting there and everything's still and quiet, and then you hear this clack.
Exactly. It came out of nowhere, and the thing was is that when I heard mine, I was in just that right spot in the valley where it just rang throughout the entire valley, and it was pretty impressive.
Right. We got another caller. Caller from the 318 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, Billy.
Hey, how you doing?
This is Jake.
Who's this?
This is Jake.
Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Good. Hey, DB. Lonnie,
hello.
You from my neck of the woods. I live in Minnesota, Louisiana.
Okay.
You ever done any research around Central, around Alexandria and such?
Oh, absolutely. Rapides Parish is that's the hot spot, one of the highest points of activity in Louisiana. Matter of fact, my partner Scott Kessler, who's in the group with me, he's only seen 3 of these things in Rapides Parish, and he lives in Pineville, just right across the river from Alexandria. That whole area is really hot. Oh yeah.
Wow. I was just wondering. Rebele. I mean, that's a common name around here.
Yeah,
right.
That's me.
Any other questions, Jake?
No, that's it. Thanks.
All right, thanks for calling in.
All right, thank you.
I had another question. I just remembered it was sent to me by email. Let me pull that up. This question comes from Dave Keel, and Dave says, "This is to you, Lonnie." He says, "I'm starting a small local Bigfoot research group here in Central Texas. We are going to some credible sighting sites for weekend camping trips not far to the east of us. This may sound like a silly question, but as a first-time Sasquatcher, what do we do to start out? Do we just camp and listen? Do we head out and look for tracks? Do we try sound recordings, or what? Any help will be appreciated."
Well, I guess the advice I'd give to him is that if he does a lot of research on his own, he'll find that the majority, or from what I found out, the majority of the people who have sightings are people who aren't researching at all. People who are just sitting around at camp, doing nothing, making noise, having a good time. A lot of people have encounters just that easy. But I do the same thing myself. I mean, I'll go to different camping areas and try not to put it in my mind that I'm actually, Bigfooting, but I'll always have a recorder going. If he has a recorder going, anytime from dusk until the early morning, I mean, that would be great. Then you can, go around and just look for evidence during the day. But plenty of people who are doing absolutely nothing, just sitting around, campfires and stuff like that, have had a lot of experiences that way.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree with you, Lonnie. I mean, most of the encounters and the sightings and everything, you just don't hear about researchers having sightings and encounters. I mean, it's typically the average Joe, the people out camping in by a campfire, talking and laughing and having a good time, or someone walking down a trail that's they're not out looking around for something, and lo and behold, boom, they have a sighting.
Right.
So yeah, there's what I guess my advice to Dave would be is really just being out there, Dave, being out there in the woods and actually just just doing your normal activities, really. is just as good of a tactic as any. You know, during the daytime, of course, you could spend your time kind of looking around and, you know, looking for tracks or looking for other evidence. Maybe if you're around a body of water or something, kind of looking around for prints and stuff like that in the daytime. And then as it starts to get dark, you know, depending on where you're at, if it's allowed, you know, start a campfire or whatever. Just cook something out on the, you know, on the fire and get an aroma going through the woods. You know, it may be all it takes to attract something close, and
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
it's really you know, that's as as it gets, really.
Yeah, we've had I mean, something else I could tell him. We've had a lot of success with putting peanut butter on like leaves of a small tree, and then putting a recorder with a few feet of it. We've had several ones like that. I mean, all different kinds of animals love peanut butter. We have one recording in particular that was pretty amazing that we had a lot of success like that. I've even heard like peanut sandwiches, even popcorn putting out these things supposedly.
Right. Well, yeah, anything that gives off a good aroma. Peanut butter does too. If peanut butter's out in the heat, it really does give off an aroma. Just like anything, you know, can of tuna. Oh, my God, that gives off an aroma. Sardines, you know. But yeah, a lot of folks swear by you know, frying bacon and stuff like that out on the campfire.
My girlfriend swears up and down, because I've read a couple of reports where people were cooking hot dogs that they've had these things come up to them. So my girlfriend swears up and down, if I want to have a sighting, I need to be cooking hot dogs, and they'll come right in.
Hot dogs is the secret weapon.
Hot dogs is the secret. She tells everybody hot dogs is the trick.
There you go. Any more questions from the chat room, DB?
Nope.
All right. Well, I guess I should ask you, do you have any questions for Lonnie? Instead of me hogging it.
Well, now I can probably think of some questions. You know, because I used to live in a place that's I don't know, probably about 60 to 100 miles away in Picayune, Mississippi, and Nicholson, Mississippi, which is down by the Pearl River and close to the Honey Island Swamp. And the people there just really did not believe that Bigfoot existed. But they had this, I guess you wouldn't call it an urban legend, kind of a, because it wasn't very urban then. It was all countrified at that time. This is back in the 70s. And their legend was that there was an 8-foot-tall black man that would, you know, do everything that Bigfoot would do. But they didn't think of it as Bigfoot. That was what they called it instead. And I was wondering if Lonnie has run across any of that, where the people are in denial that it could be Bigfoot and they've called it something else.
Not really. Actually, that's the first time I've heard that story. The Honey Island Swamp Monster. I mean, it's a big, you know, to do. People who research Louisiana, I mean, that's one of the first things they see. But I can tell you firsthand from living here, I mean, there are much, much better places to go and try to find these things than the Honey Island Swamp Monster. I mean, there are a lot of places, even South Central Louisiana, even Rapides Parish, in and around the Kisatchie Forest. But I haven't really heard that story, to answer your question. No.
Okay. Good to know. Got any more, DB, or am I going to start coming? Because I can keep going all night.
Well, let's see it then. Bring it on.
Right?
All right. Well, good. Now we're going to talk about another. You know what? We did you have a third? No, you only had 2 audios. I just wanted to make sure I got both of them. Okay. Next question I have is another theory that's been highly debated in this field, is the theory of migration. Do you think these creatures migrate, or do you think they particularly just have like a home range and they're kind of there all year round?
You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe in some places, I think it's very possible that they could migrate, go from one area where they've exhausted some of their favorite foods, maybe go to an area close to the south of the north to get, you know, better foods. I think even possibly like in my area, I think that they're in the higher ground, maybe because the food's better, possibly also because the food's better in the spring because everything's starting to come back. You know, the berries are back, everything's coming back. And to answer your question, I think it's very possible. I think it probably differs. If they do migrate, I think it definitely differs from region to region.
Right. Now, Lonnie, we're getting some requests. What is the Texla website?
TexlaResearch.com.
So TexlaResearch.com. There we go. I put it in there. TexlaResearch.com. That's where you can get some info. And I think, if I remember correctly, you guys have some audio on there. You got some pictures on there, and stuff. So,
if you go to the website, on the front page, one of the first pictures that comes up, Bruce had put on there, is a pretty tall, impressive structure. That's the one that I found a few years ago in my research area. But yeah, we've got a lot of audio on there. Bruce has done just a fantastic job with the website. He's a computer guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. How about, do you have any theory as to where these things go? For example, during the day, or where do they sleep? What is their home? Do you have any theories on where these creatures are? You know, for example, during the daytime when we're out in the woods walking around.
I would guess that, like in my area, I mean, the farther you go, where I camp, it's pretty much, I'm right in the middle of this wilderness part of it, like 8 miles from the nearest anything.
Right.
I would guess that, like, maybe in the heat of the day, they may do similar to what deer tend to do. Maybe go hole up and go to a really, really thick, dense area and just to stay out of the heat. And then maybe come out at night. I mean, they may be crepuscular just like deer, you know, early evening, you know, early morning type of thing. That would be my guess. They probably stay pretty well hidden and dense cover during the day, maybe get up, poke around a little bit, but really, really come at night when they know that, you know, a careless ace, as Mike would say, can't be
Right. Just so everyone knows, we're only about 10 minutes or so away from the end of the show. So if anyone has been holding back and trying to figure out if they're going to call in and ask Lonnie a question, the phone number is 347-237-070. Again, it's 347-237-5070. So you've only got about 10 more minutes if you want to call in and ask a question. Lonnie, what do you think these things? What do you think their diet is?
I think they're probably omnivorous. You know, berries and maybe roots and tubers. I'm sure they might get some. That they're known to kill deer and take only the liver, so they must have some kind of knowledge of what the most nutritious parts of an animal are. So I would say probably a little bit of everything.
Right.
That's a good question.
Any questions? Right. Any questions from chat room, DB?
Yes, I see that your eagle eye is working. Andy Drew asked, have you found food in hollow trees that appears to have been stored?
No, I haven't. I've actually done some experimenting with putting bags of fruit and stuff like that in trees, and had come back to check it and have the bag busted. But of course, I didn't have a camera on it, and had no idea what took it. But no, I've never found that. All I found as far as that is impressions and some really, really unusual stick formations.
Right. Okay. We got a caller on the line. Caller from the 817 area code. You're on live.
Hello, this is Bob Densford from Texla Research.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
All right. Hey, Lonnie, I was going to have you tell them what was your worst research outing ever?
Do I have to?
I thought everybody could use a little humor.
Oh, Lord. You had to.
I can tell this is going to be a good one.
Oh, my God. Okay. Last month, in June, I decided to go to the big ticket. And I had my GPS with me, and I had my points set. And to make a long story short, I pretty much nearly got lost. I kept ending up in the wrong place. I didn't have a flashlight, mistake. Didn't have a phone, mistake. And didn't have a compass, big mistake. And as I'm heading to our outing, I stopped by there for a few minutes to check it out, and really nearly got lost, and it was very, very scary. And that was the worst I've ever been on in my life, and I never want to feel like that again.
Yeah, that would be a pretty spooky feeling. Of course, you know, if you all talk to JC, he would swear up and down that me and someone else done that to him, but it's not true, so don't believe it.
Yeah. But see, one thing about the GPS, though, I was seeing Nefarious on here. She said that even with GPS, my GPS seemed to be working, but it seemed like it was leading me in the wrong spot. I was in pretty dense cover, and I guess I wasn't getting a good enough signal. So in thick cover, I no longer trust GPS.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, when you get out in the thick woods, you know, even around here in Virginia where it's not so thick, you get in there, and I mean, I'll be walking along, and then you'll hear this beep, and you look down, and it tells you lost signal. You have to have a manual compass, you know, just in case.
It showed me like I was going west, and then I ended up going east, and it was a really scary situation. And I mean, I mean, when you're in a situation like that, I mean, I thought up until that point that I was not the master of the woods, of course, but I'm really good at finding landmarks and things like that and not getting lost. That's the first time ever in my life that has happened, and it was a real eye-opener, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It was
scary. It's not only that. It's not just the signal. You know, I mean, we all know about electronics in the woods and moisture. I mean, you get out in the woods and something all of a sudden, you know, you go out there and you go, oh yeah, I got a full battery. It's fully charged. You get out there and the next thing you know, the battery is dead, and then you're like stuck. You know, I mean, anything can happen. Electronics go bad. It happens all the time. So you definitely want to make sure that you. You know, we've went out in the woods, and I'm sure JC's going to have a comment on this. But we went out in the woods, me, JC, and Tom, and we were in Ohio. And you know, we started out in the daytime. It was early afternoon. We didn't expect to be in the woods but a couple hours. But we were following this trail, and we ended up missing the trail that we were supposed to pick up on to come back in and loop around. Well, we missed the trail, and it was starting to get dark. We didn't have a flashlight. We didn't take a compass because we were going to follow the trail. So, you know, we found our way back, but, you know, it's poor JC was like, he didn't think we were going to make it back, I don't think. But we did make it back. So, it is a little spooky.
It was scary, but what I did was, I actually took some lessons from Survivor Man, Les Stroud, and I just, the main thing that I did was I stopped. I was just sweating profusely. I stopped, I calmed down, and then I'm like, you know, start using some sense, taking some deep breaths, you know, and I was like, okay, the big spot in the sky right there, that's the sun, go that way, and then guide myself back to the area with my GPS, and that's what I did, and I was out in 15, 20 minutes.
Yep, there you go.
Breathe.
Yep. Sometimes that's all you got to do is just gather yourself together and say, okay, you know, time to just slow down and think this out.
Right. I'll never make that mistake again, that's for sure. Yeah. Bob and Bruce and Mike and Scott and everybody, they were just laughing at me. I was like, I'm never going in there again. They were just laughing at me, and they're like, you know, you should have known better than that. I'm like, I know. I thought it was just going to be an in and out thing. So, yeah. That was a big.
Unfortunately, Lonnie's luck didn't get any better the rest of the weekend, so I don't know if he wants to tell about all of it, but
I lost the very GPS that got me lost, so maybe that was a good thing.
I don't think that was your weekend.
No, that was a bad weekend. I lost actually 2 other pieces of equipment that same weekend. So yeah, that was a bad weekend. I mean, I'm trying hard to forget it.
I know you're trying to forget it, but I'll let you guys go.
All right, thanks for calling in, Bob.
All right.
Now you're gonna have Lonnie. Now you're gonna have everybody and their brother out in the big thicket looking for your GPS and your equipment.
That's right. It'll be worth more.
Yeah, they might find a 2-way radio and a GPS. Yeah, that was pretty scary. Yeah, that's Bob from the group. That guy, I tell you what, he can. Him and his brother, him and Bruce, they can really build some pretty neat stuff. When it comes to technical stuff. See, we have this little game where I always try to outdo them, and every time I try to outdo Bob, he comes up with something much cooler or much more efficient, and he kicks my butt every time.
Wow. All right, any more questions from the chat there, DB?
Yeah, actually, speaking of JC, he wanted to know if Lonnie knew of any female Bigfoot researchers who do not yet know JC.
I don't know. What about Monica?
Well, Monica knows JC, so that's a non-starter.
Okay. I don't know.
He's already asked her to marry him, and you know.
He asked her twice tonight.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of JC, didn't you tell me that the thing that went on in the woods was, you know, it would have been a lot different if Tom hadn't had that bum knee because he couldn't run fast enough, and so JC kept catching up. Isn't that what you told me?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah. Poor JC.
JC's got all the attention he needs now. That's
right.
For you.
That's right. Well, Lonnie, I want to thank you for coming on the show. We've only got about a couple minutes left, and I thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you would accept the invitation to come back at a later date and tell us, you know, a little bit about, you know, any expeditions you've been on.
I'd love to. I'll try to give you some louder audio next time.
Sounds good to me. That'll be great. So thanks a lot, Lonnie, and we will see you the next time. DB, do you have anything else that you wanted to add before we go off there? We've got about a minute left.
No. Maybe I guess we could tell them who's coming up next week if we know.
Well, you know what? I have not posted who's coming up next week.
So it's a mystery.
It's a mystery, and when I say that, I'm not saying it's going to be some big surprise or anything. But basically, I've decided to stop, you know, scheduling so far out in advance, and I'm just going to start, you know, bringing them in. It's just a decision I decided to make, so soon enough you'll see it. I'll probably have it on there as soon as tomorrow. It'll be up next week. Mm-hmm. So, and then we'll go from there. Just so you know, for anybody that wants an update on the Partlow, Virginia, Spotsylvania, Virginia area where we had that sighting, and we've put up trail cameras. And for everybody, we're getting ready to go off live, so everybody that's listening to the live show, thanks a lot for listening to the show. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks so much. Because we're probably getting ready to go into archive here in about 15 seconds. But just a quick update, the Partlow, Virginia site. I got a phone call from the witness. She did check the flash memory drive in the camera. She pulled it out to check it. She was extremely impressed with the quality of the video that this trail camera takes. She said you can literally see the ripples in the water of the pond. She said she just couldn't believe the video was that clear. But DB, just so you know, she said that thing takes a very wide range of video. She said she can see all the way from the pond and all the way up the hill to the garden with the camera. But of course, the one thing. Still there, DB?
I am. What was that?
I don't know what happened. That was weird. It's like cut out and came right back on.
Did you hear the feedback, the hum? I got a really loud, obnoxious hum there for about 10 seconds.
No, I didn't get any of that. But anyway, yeah, she said she can see all the way from the pond all the way up to the top of the hill at the garden. The next trick we got to do though is play around up there at the garden. Just make sure that the camera is being triggered from that distance. Because if it's not, we may have to move it. So that's a little update. We don't have no video, no groundbreaking video Bigfoot walking around on the hill. So just wanted to give an update on that. And DB, if you don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and finish the show.
Well, I thought I might just spontaneously begin to sing, but you know what? I'll hold that off for next week.
Okay, yeah, we'll make it a surprise for everybody. You can pull out the guitar and just, sing a tune.
That's never going to happen.
Good night, everyone. This is another great show. Thank everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Good night.
Good night.
A legend silently stalks the forest around the world, leaving giant man-like footprints in its wake. Skeptics scoff, while the true believers search for the answers, and those who have seen it will never forget. Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, Blog Talk Radio. Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher present Sasquatch Watch Radio. Your hosts Billy Willard and DB Donlin bring you 60 minutes of the latest news and information, newly discovered evidence, and interviews with those searching for the truth and those who have seen it. Do you believe? Want to know the truth? It's out there waiting. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Blog Talk Radio. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Sit down, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car, before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.